Never
And
done
how do you
before.
expect the
Then
American
he says
public
what?
to
He says that
respond?
thing about the 12
Sebastian,
jurors having to
Sebastian,
unanimously
if you just
agree.
carry on
I don't care
talking and
about
we can't
12
have a
jurors
conversation,
unanimously
it
agreeing. He
gets
said,
very
if
tedious.
4 of you, why do you not listen to my answers?
But
Why
because
do you
you're not
want
listening to my
steamroll
questions.
this?
Bring in now Sebastian Gorka, who's former Deputy Assistant to the President of the United States. Sebastian Gorka, good afternoon to you.
Greetings. Thanks for having me, Cathy.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the programme. I know Donald Trump is still speaking. He's been speaking for quite some time now. Quite a rambling speech, really. What did you make of it?
Well, he's absolutely right in everything he said. It's a dark day for the fabric of rule of law in America. It's a little bit like the Dreyfus trial. This isn't about politics. This is whether or not we have a blindfold on Lady Justice or not. Because he's right. If they can do this to the most famous man in the world, who is now the leader of the opposition, they can do it to any American that the elite, that the judicial hack representatives of the left wish to target. So it's an outrage. We are 5 months away from the election. The president, as he said yesterday when he left the courtroom, the real verdict will be on November the 5th. But this is about one thing and one thing alone: stealing an election before the first ballot is even cast. Well, there was no crime. Ask a Democrat to tell you what the crime was. And the fact that this judge, in contravention of New York state law, illicitly gave donations to the Joe Biden campaign and to an anti-Trump PAC. The fact that his daughter, Lara Merchan, has made $93 million off the Democrats, off her father's trial in the last 5 months is an absolute outrage. Right.
So, Sebastian, let me just come in.
Transparent. This is against the rule of law.
Okay, let me just come in on 2 points you made there. You quoted him saying, "If they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone." But he committed a crime. So ordinary people have to hang on a second. Ordinary people have to pay their dues. If you could just let me finish the question. Ordinary people have to pay their dues. So shouldn't he pay his dues as well?
Cathy, what was the crime? Can you tell me what the crime was?
Well, it's been set out. The payment of the hush money, inverted commas. He calls it an NDA.
Tell me what the crime is, Cathy.
Sorry, but we have heard in court what the trial is.
Tell me what the crime was.
Hang on a sec. I want you to just respond to my question.
No.
And then we'll talk about what's been laid out in court.
What was the crime, Cathy?
We've heard all of that in court for many weeks now.
It should be easy for you to tell me. What was the crime he was found guilty of?
He paid the hush money. There's a series of crimes. Look, I'll go through that in a second.
Hang on. That's not a crime in America. It's called a non-disclosure agreement.
Let's do this. Okay. I'm going to answer your question, and then I want you to answer mine. Okay?
Non-disclosure agreements are not a crime in the UK.
Right. Let me spell it out for you then, because with Donald Trump's approval, his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 to stay silent about an alleged sexual encounter.
It's called an NDA.
So, hang on a sec.
Where's the crime?
I'm telling you what the crime is, if you just let me finish. And the purpose of that was not to derail Trump's 2016 campaign. He then approved a fraudulent scheme to disguise that reimbursement to Cohen as legal expenses to hide the hush money. And in doing that,
was proven in court.
Wait, so in doing that, he ran...
Kathy.
You asked me the question. You asked me the question. Let me just finish. He then ran into trouble with the election rules, which amounted to election fraud, pure and simple. Right, I've answered your question.
Cathy, were you in the court? I was in the court. So let me tell you what happened. The president's lawyer paid a porn actress out of his private money as an NDA agreement, a non-disclosure agreement, which is utterly legal.
Right.
Then the same lawyer, after the election in January, was paid by the Trump Organization for legal services. The state of New York said that the classification of the payment as legal services in January after the November election somehow undermined the election. Right. Well, that's a bit weird, because that act of reclassification of a business expense would have to have gone back in time
Okay.
to before the election.
Sebastian.
It's a farrago, it's a joke, and you just lied about what happened in court.
Sebastian, you set out your case. I've set out the crime as it was set out in court. If you just let me finish the question, because otherwise it gets really tedious, because I'm trying to do an interview with you, and you have to listen to my question and then say what you want in response. So what I want, so Sebastian, I've set out in response to your query what the alleged crime was. That has now been proven in court over many weeks. It's all been litigated in court. So just as a normal person would have to pay the price for breaking the law, so should Donald Trump, no matter that he's a president.
So courts never bring the wrong decision, right, Cathy? Never happened in British history. Nobody has ever been convicted and the conviction was wrong and they were later released. Has that ever happened?
You're now impugning the American justice system, and that has very dangerous consequences, doesn't it? In terms of the peace and harmony of America.
It is utterly dead. And think about what Juan Merchan did 3 days ago. Absolutely unprecedented in legal history, not just in America, but anywhere else. First things first, he said, you know that thing where the defense gets to speak last before the jury, before they retire, so they can rebut what the prosecution says?
Okay.
We're not doing that. The prosecution is going to get the last say.
Right. And how do you expect the American public to respond?
That thing about the 12 jurors having to unanimously
if you
agree,
just carry on talking and we can't have a conversation, it gets very tedious.
If 4 of you, why do you not listen to my answers?
But because you're not listening to my questions. I'm sorry, I'm asking you a question and you're just talking over me.
You asked me whether there are dangerous consequences to impugning the justice system's veracity.
Yeah, and I'm asking you specifically how you expect the American public to respond to what you're saying. Sebastian Gorka, I'm trying to ask you the questions, but I'm sorry, I'm not getting many answers, so I think we're going to have to end this interview. Sebastian Gorka, thank you very much, former Deputy Assistant to the President of the United States.